Listen to me. When people say a nation can be broken, they forget one thing: true strength is not measured in words, it's measured in resilience. India has faced centuries of challenges, struggles, and attempts to divide it, yet it always rises. You cannot break what is built on the foundation of determination, unity, and vision. There was a time when outside powers thought they could push India around, but that time is gone. India is no longer the silent observer. It is the player, it is the builder, it is the force. And when Russia stood with India, it proved something undeniable, that no matter how strong the pressure, alliances built on respect and mutual power cannot be broken. People may try to intimidate, to manipulate, to dominate, but intimidation only works on the weak, not on those who have trained through fire, not on those who have endured storms and still stand tall. India has transformed into a nation that is not just surviving, but leading in technology, in defense, in global influence, and Russia standing shoulder to shoulder shows the world that strength recognizes strength. Let me tell you this, real power is not in threats, it's in results. Real power is not in saying, I will crush you, but in proving, you cannot move me. That is what India has shown, that is what this alliance has proven. You can't break a will that refuses to bend. You can't break a spirit that has decided to rise. India's journey towards strategic independence is one of the most powerful transformations the world has witnessed in modern history. There was a time when outside powers could dictate terms, when foreign influence seemed to weigh heavily on decision-making, and when the nation was still finding its place in the global order. But today that is no longer the case. India has grown into a force that defines its own path, a power that no longer takes instructions but sets its own agenda. Strategic independence means the ability to look at the world, evaluate interests, and make choices that serve the nation first. It is the courage to say yes when it benefits and the wisdom to say no when it doesn't. India has proven again and again that it cannot be bent to the will of one leader or one country, no matter how powerful their threats or how loud their words. This independence is built on decades of resilience, on lessons learned through hardship, and on a vision that goes beyond short-term victories. When a nation rises from poverty, wars, and external pressure, it builds a spine of steel. That spine is what gives India the ability to resist being broken. India no longer sees itself as a dependent state waiting for permission. It sees itself as a global power with its own voice. Whether it is in trade, defense, diplomacy, or technology, the nation sets its priorities based on what strengthens its future. This means that no matter how much pressure may come from one side, India has the power to stand firm, to say it will not compromise its sovereignty, to declare its loyalty is first and foremost to its people and its destiny. Strategic independence is not about isolation, it is about balance. India has mastered the art of engaging with multiple powers without losing its core. It builds partnerships with the United States, maintains deep historic ties with Russia, strengthens relations with Europe, and expands influence in Asia and Africa. This balance means that no one country can dominate its policies because India has spread its roots too wide to be pulled from one side. If pressure comes from one corner, it finds support in another. If one door closes, another opens. This flexibility is what makes a nation truly unbreakable. The world cannot corner India anymore because it has built too many bridges, too many alliances, and too much credibility as an independent decision maker. A key part of this independence is economic growth. A nation that relies on others for survival is easy to break, but a nation that builds its own strength is untouchable. India's economy has become one of the fastest growing in the world. It has invested in manufacturing, in technology, in innovation, and in energy security. It has worked towards self-reliance in critical areas so that no foreign policy decision can hold it hostage. With a growing middle class, with increasing infrastructure, with investments flowing in from all sides, India has created an economic shield that allows it to make bold decisions. This financial backbone gives the confidence to stand firm, to reject pressure, and to choose only what aligns with national interest. Strategic independence also comes from military strength. A nation that cannot defend itself is always at risk of being dictated to, but a nation with advanced defense technology, nuclear capabilities, and modern armed forces cannot be bullied. India has invested heavily in strengthening its military, not as an aggressor, but as a protector of sovereignty. It has built partnerships to acquire the best equipment while also developing its own. The balance between external partnerships and internal development makes it harder for anyone to manipulate its security. This military readiness means that threats and intimidation lose their power because the nation is no longer vulnerable to outside force. Diplomacy plays an equally important role. Strategic independence is not only about weapons and money. It is about the ability to navigate the complex world stage. India has become a skilled player in global diplomacy, respected by multiple sides for its ability to engage without being trapped. It has taken strong positions in international organizations, it has voiced concerns for the global south, and it has shown that its decisions are made with clarity, not fear. By refusing to blindly follow any one power bloc, India has earned the reputation of being a nation that cannot be controlled. That reputation is one of its strongest shields, because when the world sees a nation standing tall, it becomes harder for anyone to push it down. The heart of this independence, however, lies in the spirit of the people. A nation's policies are only as strong as the confidence of its citizens. Over the years, Indians have developed a stronger sense of pride, a deeper belief in their nation, and a refusal to accept being treated as weak. This unity gives power to leaders to make tough choices. This pride fuels the economy, fuels innovation, fuels the defense of sovereignty. When people believe they are part of a rising force, no external words of doubt can shake them. This national confidence is the invisible shield that protects India from being broken. The proof of strategic independence is not just in resisting outside pressure, but in set one goals and toward them no matter the obstacles. India is not waiting for approval, it is leading in space exploration, digital innovation, renewable energy, and global trade. It is shaping the future and not being dragged into someone else's vision. That is the mark of a nation that cannot be broken. When the direction is clear, when the determination is strong, outside forces become powerless. They may try to influence, they may try to intimidate, but they cannot stop the momentum of a nation that has chosen to rise on its own terms. The relationship between India and Russia is not something built overnight. It is the result of decades of trust, cooperation, and shared vision that has withstood the test of time. In a world where alliances shift quickly and friendships are often based on temporary gain, the bond between these two nations stands out as one of consistency and resilience. This is why when pressure comes from outside to weaken India, it does not succeed. Russia continues to stand with India, and in doing so, it proves that India cannot be broken, because a strong ally is like a shield in times of challenge. This partnership is not about dependency, but about mutual respect. India does not bow to Russia, and Russia does not dictate to India. Instead, both countries understand the value of standing together in a global environment where power struggles are constant. This alliance has deep roots in defense cooperation. For decades, Russia has been India's most reliable partner in military technology and equipment. From fighter jets to submarines, from missiles to advanced systems, Russia has provided tools that helped India build one of the strongest defense forces in the world. More importantly, this relationship has been marked by trust, where sensitive technology has been shared without fear of betrayal. That kind of trust is rare, and it is exactly what makes the partnership strong. Even when new defense deals are made with other nations, India never abandons Russia, and Russia never withdraws from India. This continuity ensures that no external pressure can break India's military backbone, because it knows it always has a partner willing to stand by its side. But the relationship goes far beyond defense. Energy is another pillar that keeps this bond alive. In a time when nations face rising fuel costs and energy insecurity, Russia has ensured that India has access to affordable oil and resources. This energy cooperation is more than just trade. It is a lifeline for India's growing economy. When the West placed sanctions on Russian energy, many believed India would back away. But instead, India made decisions based on its national interest. This independence was reinforced by the understanding that Russia would continue to provide what India needed. This proved to the world that no matter how much external pressure comes, India cannot be forced into a corner. Because the support it receives from Russia gives it the strength to choose freely. The bond also extends to global diplomacy. On the world stage, India and Russia often find themselves aligned in calling for multipolarity rather than a world dominated by one or two superpowers. This shared vision is powerful because it sends a message that both nations believe in balance and fairness in global decision-making. When one leader or one country tries to exert dominance, this alliance counters it by showing that other voices cannot be silenced. This diplomatic unity protects India from being isolated, because Russia's support ensures that India's positions are respected and amplified. A nation that is never alone is a nation that cannot be broken. Another aspect of this relationship is history itself. Unlike alliances built on fear or temporary convenience, India and Russia share a history of standing together in difficult times. During the Cold War, when India needed partners, Russia was there. When wars threatened India's stability, Russia stood firm as an ally. These memories create a bond that goes beyond economics or politics. It is a bond of loyalty. Loyalty is something no pressure can erase, because it is not based on immediate gain but on shared sacrifices and victories. This history reassures India that it is not walking alone, and that reassurance is a shield against any attempt to weaken it. Economics plays a growing role as well. Trade between India and Russia has expanded into areas like technology, agriculture, and infrastructure. Both nations benefit from this cooperation, but more importantly, it diversifies India's economic partnerships. This means that no single power can strangle India economically, because Russia provides alternatives that keep the flow of resources steady. When one door is threatened to be closed, Russia opens another. This creates resilience, and resilience is the foundation of strength. A nation that cannot be cornered economically cannot be controlled politically, and this is one of the strongest proofs that India is beyond being broken. The cultural and educational exchange between the two nations also adds to this bond. For decades, students, scientists, and artists have crossed borders between India and Russia, building friendships that go beyond politics. These people-to-people connections may seem small compared to defense or energy, but they create lasting goodwill. Goodwill is a force that cannot be broken by threats or pressure, because it lives in the hearts of ordinary people, not just governments. When people believe in friendship, they protect it. This layer of trust adds yet another shield to India's resilience. Most importantly, the alliance with Russia gives India the ability to stand on its own terms in global politics. It shows the world that India cannot be bullied into abandoning its interests, because there will always be a strong ally ready to stand with it. This is the ultimate proof that attempts to break India fail. A nation with loyal partnerships, strong defense ties, energy security, economic resilience, cultural bonds, and diplomatic support is a nation that cannot be bent or broken by any one leader's ambition. Russia's commitment to India proves that this strength is not imagined, it is real, and it is visible to the world. India's economic resilience is one of the strongest shields it carries today against external pressure or manipulation, and it is the clearest proof that no single leader or power can break it anymore. A nation that once struggled with poverty, dependency, and slow growth has transformed into one of the fastest growing economies in the world, and this transformation is not by chance. It is the result of vision, planning, and relentless effort. Economic resilience means that India is no longer trapped by dependency on one partner, one market, or one source of power. Instead, it has diversified its trade, strengthened its industries, and invested in long-term growth strategies that make it too large and too strong to be cornered. When a country can create its own opportunities, it becomes unshakable, and that is exactly what India has achieved over the past decades. This resilience is visible in the way India has built a diverse network of trade relations. It no longer relies on a single superpower to survive. Instead, it maintains strong connections with the United States, Europe, Russia, the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. This balance ensures that even if one partner attempts to apply pressure, India can pivot to another. For example, when energy markets became unstable and sanctions were imposed on certain regions, India turned to alternative suppliers and kept its economy moving forward. This flexibility demonstrates the kind of strength that cannot be broken. Dependence creates vulnerability, but diversification creates independence, and India has chosen the latter. That independence is a shield that makes foreign manipulation ineffective. A second pillar of economic resilience is self-reliance. The policy of Atmanirbhar Bharat is not just a slogan but a strategy designed to reduce vulnerability by producing more within the nation's borders. From defense manufacturing to technology, from renewable energy to pharmaceuticals, India is building industries that ensure it does not have to beg or borrow when global tensions rise. For example, during the pandemic, India became the pharmacy of the world, supplying vaccines and medicines not only for itself, but for dozens of other countries. This showed that self-reliance is not isolation but empowerment, and empowerment creates respect. When a nation can feed itself, heal itself, and defend itself, it cannot be broken by sanctions or supply chain disruptions. This mindset of producing more at home has added another layer of security to India's economic independence. Another factor is the power of India's demographic strength. With a young population, the largest workforce in the world, and a growing middle class, the nation has a resource that few others can match. This workforce is not just a number, it is energy, innovation, and creativity in motion. As more young people enter industries, start businesses, and embrace technology, they drive growth that cannot be stopped from outside. This internal momentum is what gives India resilience. When growth comes from within, it cannot be switched off by outside orders. It is like a fire that burns from the inside out, impossible to extinguish because it is fueled by the people themselves. This is the kind of economic strength that grows deeper with time, making the country harder and harder to weaken. Technology and digital innovation have also played a huge role in strengthening economic resilience. India has become a leader in IT services, digital payment systems, and technology startups. This sector not only brings in global revenue, but also creates independence from traditional industries that are vulnerable to manipulation. For example, India's digital payment ecosystem is one of the most advanced in the world, allowing millions to operate in a cashless system that is resistant to shocks. Technology creates new opportunities, and with every new breakthrough, India reduces its dependence on others. This self-sustained growth is a weapon against attempts to weaken it, because innovation makes it adaptable, and adaptability makes it unbreakable. Energy diversification has been another cornerstone. India understands that an economy built on one source of energy can be crippled if that source is cut off, so it has invested in multiple options. From Russian oil imports to renewable energy projects like solar and wind, from nuclear power to domestic exploration, India is creating a basket of energy solutions that cannot be easily disrupted. This ensures stability for industries, for transport, and for households, making it impossible for external pressure to push the country into darkness. Energy security is the lifeblood of resilience, and India is steadily securing it. That security gives confidence to policymakers to make bold decisions without fearing collapse, and that confidence is what makes India's position unshakable. Another reason why economic resilience makes India immune to outside pressure is the sheer size of its market. With over 1 billion people, no global power can afford to ignore India. It is not just a participant in the world economy, it is a driver of it. International companies, investors, and governments see India as too important to lose, which means that threats of isolation ring hollow. The demand generated within India ensures that even if one market is closed, another will open. The world needs India as much as India needs the world, and this balance of power is proof of resilience. A market of this size is a shield, because walking away from it is not an option for any serious global player. Finally, the spirit of adaptation is what ties all of this together. Economic resilience is not about never facing challenges, it is about facing them and coming back stronger each time. India has gone through financial crises and global recessions, oil shocks and pandemics, but in each case, it has emerged with more strength, more flexibility, and more vision. This pattern proves that attempts to break India economically only make it tougher. Pressure does not weaken it, it hardens it like steel forged in fire. Every challenge adds to its resilience, and every setback becomes the foundation for a stronger comeback. That is the hallmark of a nation that cannot be broken by threats, manipulation, or pressure from outside forces, India's military strength and defense partnerships have become one of the most powerful reasons why no external force can break its choices anymore. For decades, the nation struggled with limited resources, outdated equipment, and dependence on external suppliers, but today it has transformed into a rising military power with advanced technology, strong alliances, and a clear vision for self-reliance. Military strength is not about aggression, it is about protection, and India understands this deeply. A strong military ensures sovereignty, it secures borders, it builds confidence in diplomacy, and it deters those who think intimidation can work. With every new investment in defense, with every new collaboration, India sends a message to the world: it is no longer vulnerable, it is no longer dependent, and it cannot be broken. This transformation begins with modernization. India has invested heavily in upgrading its armed forces, from air power to naval strength, from missile systems to cyber defense. Fighter jets, aircraft carriers, nuclear submarines, and precision strike weapons are no longer distant dreams, but part of its arsenal. These investments ensure that India is not standing still while the world advances. Instead, it is keeping pace, and in many areas even leading. Modernization means deterrence, and deterrence is the strongest language in geopolitics. When a nation has the ability to defend itself against threats from multiple directions, no external power can force it into submission. Military modernization is not a show of strength, it is the shield that allows India to make decisions free from fear. A key part of this strength is the strategic partnership with nations that provide cutting-edge defense technology. Russia remains one of the most important partners, supplying advanced systems like the S-400 missile defense shield, fighter aircraft, and naval equipment. But at the same time, India has diversified its defense relationships, working with the United States, France, Israel, and other powers to ensure it has access to the best tools available. This diversification mirrors India's economic strategy, never putting all its eggs in one basket. By maintaining multiple defense partnerships, India prevents dependency and ensures resilience. No single country can hold back its military development because there is always another willing partner. This web of alliances ensures that pressure from one direction cannot cripple its security. Equally important is India's drive for defense self-reliance. The push for Make in India in defense is changing the landscape of its military industry. From producing indigenous fighter jets like the Tejas to developing missile systems under DRDO to building warships in its own shipyards, India is steadily reducing its dependency on imports. This self-reliance has two benefits: it strengthens the domestic economy by creating jobs and industries, and it ensures long-term security by making sure critical defense needs cannot be disrupted by foreign politics. The more India builds for itself, the less it can be threatened with supply cuts or embargoes. This self-reliant defense industry is like armor forged at home, unshakable by outside hands. Another dimension of India's military strength is its nuclear capability. A nuclear deterrent is not something that is used, but something that prevents the need to use force in the first place. It ensures that no major power dares to threaten India with existential risks, because the cost would be too high. Nuclear strength gives India the confidence to act independently on the world stage, knowing that ultimate security is safeguarded. This deterrence, combined with conventional military modernization, makes the nation one of the most secure in the world, not because it seeks war, but because it ensures peace through preparedness. India's armed forces are not just strong because of equipment, they are strong because of experience and spirit. Few nations have as much real battlefield experience as India, with its forces operating in some of the harshest terrains in the world, from the icy heights of the Himalayas to the deserts of Rajasthan and the maritime zones of the Indian Ocean. This experience makes its military not just well-equipped but battle-hardened, disciplined, and resilient. The spirit of the Indian soldier is one of dedication, sacrifice, and unwavering loyalty to the nation. This human strength, combined with technology, creates a force that cannot be intimidated or easily defeated. A nation whose soldiers are willing to give everything cannot be broken by foreign pressure, The importance of India's military also extends into diplomacy. A strong military means stronger negotiations because respect in international relations often comes from the ability to defend oneself. Nations listen more closely to those who carry strength, and India's rising military power has ensured that its voice is heard on global platforms. Whether in the Indo-Pacific region, in peacekeeping missions, or in strategic dialogues, India's military capacity ensures that it is treated as an equal, not as a subordinate. This diplomatic weight is a direct result of military investment, and it creates an environment where India can stand tall and independent without bending under threats. Finally, the role of the Indian Ocean and maritime dominance cannot be ignored. Geography has given India a central position in one of the most strategic waterways of the world. By building a powerful navy with aircraft carriers, submarines, and advanced surveillance, India ensures control over this region, making it a key player in global trade and security. Control of the seas adds another layer of resilience because it means that India not only protects its own interests, but also contributes to global stability. This maritime strength reinforces its role as a global power that cannot be sidelined or weakened by external attempts. Together, modernization, partnerships, self-reliance, nuclear deterrence, battlefield experience, diplomatic influence, and maritime control form the pillars of India's military strength. These pillars make it impossible for any leader or country to break India's will or manipulate its choices. A strong military is more than weapons. It is the guarantee of sovereignty, the protector of national pride, and the shield that allows independence in decision-making. India's defense power has reached a point where intimidation fails and pressure loses its force, because the nation now has the ability to stand firmly on its own terms. India's ability to balance its diplomatic relationships has become one of the most powerful or controlled by any single leader or nation. In a world divided into competing blocs and power struggles, India has chosen a different path, one that focuses on maintaining strong ties with multiple nations while staying firmly committed to its own national interests. This skillful balancing act is not easy. It requires vision, strategy, and confidence, but India has proven that it can navigate this complex stage with precision. Diplomatic balancing means not being trapped in alliances that limit independence, but instead using relationships to strengthen freedom of choice. India engages with the United States, maintains deep historical ties with Russia, builds growing connections with Europe, and expands influence in Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. This wide network ensures that no matter what pressures come from one direction, India has partners and allies in another, making it nearly impossible for any one country to dominate its policies. One of the clearest examples of this balancing power is India's relationship with both the United States and Russia. While the US seeks closer military, technological, and economic ties, Russia remains a vital defense and energy partner. Many believe that India would be forced to choose between the two, but India has consistently shown that it will not abandon one relationship to satisfy another. It continues to conduct major defense deals with Russia, such as the S-400 missile defense system, while simultaneously deepening cooperation with the United States in the Indo-Pacific strategy. This refusal to be boxed into one camp is what proves India's strength. It is not a follower in global politics. It is a player that shapes outcomes by keeping multiple doors open. This kind of diplomatic independence protects it from being cornered, because it cannot be isolated by any single bloc when it belongs to none fully. India's diplomacy also shines in its relationship with Europe. While European nations align closely with the United States, India has built strong partnerships in trade, technology, and green energy with them. France has become one of India's closest defense partners, providing Rafale fighter jets and collaborating on naval projects. Germany, the UK, and other European powers view India as a crucial partner for stability in Asia and for global economic growth. This European connection widens India's reach, ensuring that even if one power tries to cut ties, others will step in to maintain cooperation. This web of connections creates resilience. It makes threats of isolation meaningless because India is never truly alone on the world stage. Diplomatic balancing also extends to Asia and the Middle East. India has strengthened its ties with Japan and Australia, building the Quad alliance alongside the US, while simultaneously maintaining relations with Southeast Asian nations through ASEAN. This involvement ensures that India has a central role in shaping the security and economic structure of the Indo-Pacific region. At the same time, it has managed to keep strong ties with countries in the Middle East, securing energy supplies from nations like Saudi Arabia, Iran, and the UAE, while also investing in trade and infrastructure partnerships. These Middle Eastern connections are critical because they provide India with stability in energy and trade routes. This balance across Asia and the Middle East prevents dependency and shows the world that no matter where pressure comes from, India always has alternatives. Another dimension of this balancing power is India's growing role in Africa. By investing in development projects, trade, and education, India has strengthened ties with many African nations that see it as a partner for progress. These relationships not only expand India's global footprint, but also demonstrate its role as a bridge between developing nations and established powers. This unique position gives India influence in international organizations like the United Nations, where the support of developing countries adds weight to its voice. When a nation carries influence both with global powers and with the developing world, it becomes untouchable by intimidation because its presence is too vital to ignore. India's diplomacy is also marked by its principle of strategic autonomy. This means that it does not allow alliances to dictate its core decisions. For example, despite pressure from Western nations to cut energy ties with Russia, India continued its oil imports because it served national interest. At the same time, it continued to cooperate with the US on defense and security. This shows the world that India listens to others but decides for itself. Strategic autonomy is the essence of balancing power because it ensures that friendships are built on respect, not submission. Nations that cannot be forced into corners are the ones that stand strongest, and India has proven itself to be one of them. India's balancing power is also visible in its approach to global challenges like climate change, trade reforms, and technology governance. Instead of blindly following one bloc's agenda, it sets its own priorities and collaborates with multiple sides to achieve them. On climate change, for example, India works with Western nations on renewable energy but also continues to develop its own strategies for coal and oil to protect economic growth. On technology, it collaborates with global leaders while building its own digital infrastructure, ensuring sovereignty in cyberspace. These choices highlight a nation that is not swayed by pressure but guided by vision. That vision creates stability, and stability makes it unbreakable. The key reason why diplomatic balancing makes India resilient is that it reduces vulnerability. A nation dependent on one ally can be controlled, but a nation with many allies cannot. India has placed itself in a position where it is respected by multiple sides, needed by many and courted by all. It is not trapped in the past or tied to a single bloc. Instead, it moves forward with clarity and independence, building partnerships that expand its options instead of limiting them. This balancing act is not weakness, it is strength. It proves to the world that India cannot be broken because it has mastered the art of saying yes when it wants to and no when it must, without ever standing alone. The strength of a nation is not only measured in its armies, its weapons, or its economy, but also in the unity and confidence of its people. India's transformation into a more self-assured, united nation is one of the greatest reasons why it cannot be broken anymore. There was a time when divisions, doubts, and lack of confidence weakened the spirit of the people, but today the story is different. Across villages, towns, and cities, a stronger belief in the country's future has taken root, creating a wave of national pride that cannot be shaken by threats or manipulation from outside. When people are united by a shared vision, they stand like a wall against external pressure. And this is exactly what India's citizens are showing. Public unity and national confidence act as the invisible armor that protects sovereignty, because no leader, no matter how powerful, can break a nation whose people refuse to bend. This confidence is born from progress. In the last few decades, Indians have seen real changes in their lives: a better infrastructure, access to technology, improved education, and rising opportunities. When people see progress with their own eyes, They begin to believe more in the power of their nation. They begin to trust that their hard work is leading to something bigger. This belief is contagious. It spreads from one person to another, strengthening the collective mindset of resilience. Confidence in the future creates determination in the present, and determination is what makes a people unbreakable. This is why external pressure does not work anymore, because Indians no longer see themselves as weak or dependent, but as participants in a rising force that is shaping the future. Unity plays an equally critical role. India is a country of immense diversity, with countless languages, religions, and traditions, yet despite these differences, the spirit of nationalism is growing stronger. The awareness that the nation is bigger than any single identity is uniting people in ways that were once thought impossible. This unity is not about erasing differences, but about celebrating them under one larger identity of being Indian. When external powers try to exploit divisions, they find resistance because the people are learning that unity is strength and disunity is weakness. This understanding has become part of the national consciousness, creating a shield that protects against attempts to divide and weaken. A united people cannot be easily manipulated, and this unity is one of the strongest foundations of resilience. And national confidence is also reflected in the way Indians respond to global recognition. Every time India achieves something significant, whether it is a space mission, a diplomatic success, or economic growth, the pride of the people grows stronger. Achievements like the Chandrayaan moon mission or the rise of Indian technology firms are not just scientific or economic victories, they are psychological victories. They tell every citizen that their nation is capable, competent, and respected. This growing self-image creates a culture of confidence that is difficult to break. When 1 billion people believe in themselves, outside criticism loses its sting. Threats lose their impact, manipulation loses its power. Confidence acts like armor that no weapon of words can penetrate. The role of youth in building this confidence cannot be ignored. With the youngest population in the world, India's youth are filled with ambition, creativity, and drive. They no longer dream small, they dream of competing with the best in the world, whether in business, technology, or innovation. This generational shift means the nation's confidence is not temporary, it is rising with every new wave of young leaders and entrepreneurs. The more the youth believe they can achieve anything, the less they accept limitations imposed by others. This generational confidence is like a rising tide, lifting the entire nation higher, making it impossible for anyone to push it down. The Indian diaspora also plays a powerful role in reinforcing public unity and national pride. Millions of Indians living across the globe are achieving success in business, politics, medicine, and technology. Their achievements shine a positive light on India, and this reflection strengthens the confidence of those back home. When Indians see one of their own leading global companies or serving in high offices abroad, it fuels the belief that their nation's people can succeed anywhere. This pride strengthens unity across borders, creating a global network of confidence that cannot be broken by outside negativity. The diaspora acts as ambassadors of resilience, showing the world that Indian talent is unstoppable. National confidence is also built on cultural pride. India's traditions, spirituality, and heritage are among the oldest and richest in the world, and today they are being celebrated more than ever before. Yoga, Ayurveda, classical arts, and Indian cinema are not just cultural exports, they are symbols of identity that remind the people of their unique contributions to the world. This cultural pride builds self-respect, and self-respect is the foundation of resilience. When a people respect themselves, they do not easily bow to others, they walk taller, they speak louder, and they defend their dignity with greater strength. This cultural pride, combined with modern achievements, creates a balance of tradition and progress that fuels unshakable confidence. Another important factor is the growing trust in India's democratic voice. Despite challenges, Indians know that their votes matter, that their participation in the system shapes the nation's future. This trust in democracy gives the people ownership of the nation's destiny. A people who feel ownership do not allow outsiders to dictate terms, because they know they are the ones responsible for their own progress. This sense of responsibility makes manipulation harder and strengthens unity further. Democracy, despite its imperfections, provides the framework for collective resilience by giving people a voice and a stake in the nation's journey. All of these elements, progress, unity, achievements, youth energy, diaspora pride, cultural richness, and democratic trust, come together to create a people who are no longer passive observers of their fate, but active participants in shaping it. This is why national confidence is such a powerful shield. It is not built overnight, it is built through years of struggle, growth, and achievement. Once people believe in themselves and in their nation, no leader, no country, no outside pressure can break that spirit. The strength of 1 billion united hearts and minds is greater than any external force that tries to bend it. India's rise to global recognition is no longer a distant dream, but a reality. Recognition is the balance of power in the world, and this recognition is one of the strongest reasons why it cannot be broken anymore. For decades, India was seen as a developing nation struggling to find its place on the international stage, but today it stands as a key decision maker whose voice carries weight in shaping global policies. When Russia continues to support and stand with India, it proves to the world that India is not a silent follower but a leader whose presence matters in every major discussion. Recognition is not given lightly in international politics. It is earned through strength, consistency, and vision, and India has shown all three. The world no longer looks at India as a background player but as a nation whose choices affect the future of global security, economics, and diplomacy. And this new standing ensures that no single leader or nation can treat it as weak or breakable. This recognition comes first from economic growth. India's economy has become one of the largest in the world, and its role in global trade and supply chains makes it a critical partner for many countries. Multinational corporations invest heavily in India, and global powers seek trade agreements because they know that ignoring India means losing access to one of the largest markets and workforces on the planet. This economic power translates into political influence because when a country is needed for trade and investment, it cannot be sidelined. Russia's continued partnership with India highlights this reality, showing that India is not just surviving global competition, but thriving within it, and this thriving economy commands recognition that protects against attempts to weaken or isolate it. India's global recognition also stems from its role in technology innovation. It is not just a participant in the digital revolution, but a leader in many areas, from IT services to digital payments to space technology. The successful missions of ISRO, including Mars and lunar exploration, have proven that India can achieve what only a handful of nations have done. This recognition in science and innovation strengthens India's reputation as a nation of capability and intelligence, not dependency. When the world sees India sending spacecraft to the moon while also building one of the most advanced digital payment systems on Earth, it is forced to treat India with respect. This respect ensures that outside powers cannot dismiss or dominate it, because it has proven its capacity to compete at the highest level. Military and defense power also contribute heavily to global recognition. A strong nation is respected not only for its economy or technology, but also for its ability to protect itself and contribute to regional and global security. India's modernization of its armed forces, combined with its role in maintaining stability in the Indo-Pacific, has made it an essential partner for global powers. Russia's continued defense cooperation with India reinforces this strength, proving that India is a military power that cannot be ignored. When nations respect your security capabilities, they cannot easily break your will, because they know that force and intimidation will not succeed. Recognition of military power ensures that India's seat at the table is permanent and its independence secure. Another pillar of recognition is diplomacy. India has become one of the few nations capable of engaging with all sides without losing credibility. It talks with the United States while maintaining strong ties with Russia, engages Europe while also working with Asia and Africa, and contributes to global platforms like BRICS, G20, and the United Nations. This diplomatic balancing shows the world that India is not a pawn but a player with its own vision. Its ability to mediate, negotiate, and lead initiatives for global cooperation makes it an indispensable voice. Russia's alignment with India underscores this reality, because partnerships built on respect show that India's choices are recognized as sovereign, not as dictated by anyone else. Recognition at the diplomatic level ensures that India cannot be broken by threats of isolation, because it is too deeply connected across the world. Cultural recognition plays a role as well. India's heritage, traditions, and soft power have spread globally, with yoga, cinema, spirituality, and cuisine influencing millions worldwide. This cultural influence is not superficial, it builds goodwill and connection, creating a positive image that supports political and economic recognition. When people across the world respect and admire a nation's culture, it becomes harder for governments to attack or undermine it. This cultural strength adds another dimension to India's global presence, making it not only a political and economic force but also a cultural giant. Recognition in culture is lasting, and it reinforces the respect given on other fronts. India's recognition also comes from its leadership in representing the global South. In forums like the G20, India has positioned itself as the voice of developing nations, pushing for fair policies in trade, climate, and development. This role as a bridge between developed and developing worlds gives India influence beyond its borders. Nations look to India for guidance, for support, and for partnership. Russia's alignment with India reinforces this leadership role, proving that India's voice matters not only in its own region but on the global stage. When a country becomes a voice for many others, it cannot be dismissed or broken, because it carries the weight of millions beyond its own population. Perhaps the most important aspect of global recognition is respect. Recognition means that when India speaks, others listen. It means that when India acts, others respond. This respect has been built carefully over decades of resilience, sacrifice, and growth. It is not something that can be undone by threats or pressure. Respect is earned, and once earned, it becomes a shield against those who would try to diminish or break it. Russia's continued support proves that India has earned this shield and that it now stands as a respected power in the world order. A respected nation is an unbreakable nation because it commands allies, influences decisions, and leads with authority. The recognition of India as a global power is therefore one of the clearest reasons why attempts to break it no longer succeed. Economic influence, technological leadership, military strength, diplomatic skill, cultural power, representation of the global South, and the respect of allies like Russia all come together to create a status that cannot be erased. Once a nation reaches this level of recognition, it is no longer vulnerable to domination because its presence is too vital to global stability. This recognition ensures that India will continue to rise, and no outside force can break what the world has already accepted as unshakable.